Hey, it's Sarah Jane from Access Your True Nature, and I'm coming to you from my lounge today. My daughter's away, and it's beautiful and quiet in the house, and I don't know if it's part this Libra, Arian, Pisces moon that's got me feeling a little blue today, or if it's the rain that we've had. But anyway, I'm here, I'm showing up, and I wanted to just pick up the conversation from the other day where I was really talking about this whole thing about how to make love, not war, in your life, and how to just create more peace. Hi Kelly Heath, hi Corleen, nice to see you all here. So yeah, let me know what's going on in your world in regards to how to love yourselves more, and join the conversation, because I am just so grateful that you're here. Hi Anjana, all my favorite beautiful warrior women joining the call. So I'm just going to wait for a couple more minutes and try and keep to the point today, and see if we can make it a little shorter than my normal daily doses of medicine. So as I was saying, I wanted to dive in deeper today. Hi Carol, I know I'm seeing you later on tonight, so yay, great that you're joining the conversation. Okay, so we're all here, all these powerful, incredible, amazing women that you are. And I know that you probably relate to this, because the universe is pretty clever how it brings us the people that we're asking for to really show us how to return to love. And I want to really dive into this sort of whole thing women do to sort of turn against themselves all the time, where we self-deprecate, and love can't live there, because when we feel that kind of pain, some days we can't get out of bed in the morning, and we let ourselves go, and we can't find what that pieces that's missing that actually makes us happy. So we put up walls, and we wear masks, and we judge the heck out of ourselves, don't we? And we stay stuck in this place of feeling lonely and confused, and telling ourselves we'll work on it later, and later never comes. And before you know it, it's like 10 years have gone by, and we're still stuck in exactly the same place that we were before. And I don't know, have you ever sort of spent time beating yourself up over something that you weren't particularly proud of, or that you felt some shame or some guilt around? Because I know I certainly have, and I do that all the time. But what stems from all of this is really that sort of deep-seated feeling of not being good enough. And I know that's one of my core woundings, or it has been for a long time. Is good enough for who, or good enough for what? Good enough for you, good enough for myself. How about good enough to myself? How about that one? Hi Monique, nice to see you. And Candace, welcome to Joburg. I know you just arrived. So for me, the good enough part is always to myself, the part where we don't love enough, and we live our lives trying to get everybody else's approval that we're worthy of love, and it leaves us sort of compromising ourselves all the time. So think of all the promises that you've broken, all the promises you haven't kept for yourself, to yourself. Because I'm always learning that if you want to feel better, if you want to be freer, you have to go back to how you're being unloving to yourself, right? I mean, it sounds pretty simple, but we make it complicated. So how are you lying to yourself? Where do you go into these defensive mechanisms because you feel threatened, and you start to deflect? My tripod is falling over. So take, for example, a compliment that somebody says something to you like, wow, you're looking really great, and you go, yes, but, and you can't receive it because there's a part that feels that you're going to get burnt at the stake again for being beautiful or brilliant, and we get to be afraid to shine our light in the world. And it's like, think of it like this, it's like you get this beautiful wrapped present with this lovely bow on top of it, and it's like you throw it on the floor, and then you stomp all over it, and here's the thing, people don't make you feel anything. They're in your life to awaken you to the feelings that you have within you. And you can't love yourself if you don't know yourself. And it becomes easier to love yourself enough when you know your boundaries, when you can say no and love that. You know, that's the conflict. That guilt is that disease to please, to make yourself wrong, and the suffering and the depression. When you avoid what you need, that's when you start to get bitter and resentful. When you don't tell yourself the truth. And if you want to feel safe, I hope I'm making sense. Give me some love, give me some hearts if this is making sense. Because it's one of those funny things that's very much feeling. It isn't so much the words, but it's the feeling and the energy behind it. But it all comes from that place of rejecting yourself, oftentimes, because you get to unlove yourself, or you get to be unkind before somebody else is unkind and unloving to you. It's just there's this void of or this kind of funny feeling where you don't feel that it's safe, right? To love yourself, right? There's going to be a consequence for you loving. Someone will tell you you're selfish, or they'll have to rip you down. And I know amongst women, most of us that are sensitive empaths, that are intuitive, that are tuned into other people's energy, we feel this. And we feel like the only way we can keep ourselves safe is to self-deprecate. And worse than that, actually not receive the compliment, chuck the gift on the floor and go, oh yeah, but you know, I still have 10 kgs to lose, and actually my butt looks, you know, I don't like my butt, and we can't receive. So if you want to feel safe emotionally or otherwise, does it make sense that you have to change your old beliefs? You have to change the mindsets and the old stories from the inside. You need to want to, because without wanting, without choosing it for yourself, nothing ever changes. And then you maybe don't want to love yourself enough, because then you can't blame other people for where you are in your life, because you're taking responsibility for feeling good about yourself and not having to rely on external validation that you're worthy of love. And that's really where you start to tap into this wisdom of inner peace, so that you can start changing your complaints into, I am actually feeling great about myself, thank you, and receiving and acting as if. So mirror work is something really good to do with yourself, because that way you get the power to change. Inch by inch is a cinch, remember? Yard by yard is hard. And you know, here's the thing is, we need each other. Hi Sue, nice to see you. You know, we need each other. And that's a desire, because we weren't designed to live alone. We weren't designed to create in a vacuum. And we need people to grow us, especially when we're afraid to claim our gifts, run our businesses. And some of you I know, like me, have battled depression at the same time. And I'm not talking about you know, I'm sad about the stray dogs and the starving children and where milk comes from. You know, I'm really talking about the depression that isn't just about your brain being wrong. It doesn't feel like sadness. It's that place that actually you don't give a shit about much anymore. And another thing that I kind of learnt when I nearly let depression kill me is that you can't just snap out of it. You can't just adjust your attitude. You can't just throw positive affirmations and what else is possible at it and think happy thoughts, although it does help. You know, that's the layers, the 4 levels of healing that I talk about in most of my work, and why I'm so passionate about healing your gut. That's where all the serotonin and the happy stuff comes from, and why getting good deep sleep and having loving, supporting people around you is so super important. What I do know to be true is that you have to go into that dark space alone, the hero's journey, as Joseph Campbell talks of. And even when you think that you can't love that part of you, which wants to stay in her pajamas or you know, dive under the duvet, or doesn't give a shit about anything in or outside of your house. For all you introverts that are more introvert than extrovert like me, you can totally relate. Hi Gail, good to see you here. I'm so glad you tried that stuff, and that it changed. Yeah? Open, honest communication, telling people what you need, telling them how you feel, already softens the heart walls, because you're not attacking and you're not defending. So, you know, for me, it's always about barriers down. And as one of my most amazing mentors, Monty Roberts, says, adrenaline down, learning up. You know, that's how we actually start to be able to love ourselves, is to just firstly acknowledge that we are afraid, and that we're responding from the old reptilian brain that just wants to keep us safe, and our nervous system that thinks that there's something to either have to go into fight or flight or defense from. So yeah, so if you've ever kind of had those moments like me where it's just like depression has got you by the throat, and you're in that place where I don't care, I don't give a shit, I don't care, when actually you care so much that you have to get out of caring about some of those things, and to also just allow yourself that loving space to know that it's okay to not give a shit about anything else except going into the darkness. There's always a gift in there, although we don't always see it, and society's told us for, I don't know, forever, that we need to avoid those places of feeling that deeply as quickly as possible. And this is that spiritual bypass that I talk about. You can't heal what you don't feel. So, you know, those moments where if someone dumped 100 gorgeous little kittens around, or Johnny Depp walked through the door, I love Johnny Depp, or someone told me I'd won $1 billion rands, mind you, make it $1 billion, I still wouldn't give a shit. Can you relate to some of those days? Give me some love, give me some hearts. Let me know if this is a conversation that you'd like to have, otherwise I can just end it right now. That, you know, it's okay. It's okay to have those days, and I still do, they're rare, but they still happen, when you don't actually give a shit about anything. You know, it's cringeworthy, but it's true. And for me, that not even my daughter or my own animals or myself will get me out of that place. And that's where depression is deadly, because you just don't care about anything, especially yourself. It's the absence of love. And I want you to know it's not your fault. Hi, Darlene. And you're not alone. And you can kick depression to the curb, because you matter and your work matters. And in business, this means that on those bad days, I want you, just like I practice myself, to love yourself enough to, well, love yourself. You know, if it means ignoring emails, which is why I have an amazing VA to pick it up and sort the urgent to the later and reply on my behalf with love always. And it's why some days I ignore the sales and I postpone meetings and I just sit. I sit in the darkness, I sit in the depression, and I feel it, because not being sitting is better than all those other things, because sitting is, for me, the not giving a shit. And then of course I have to beat myself up for behaving so badly, and then down the rabbit hole we go. And it's okay. It's temporary. You know, depression means I have to go to war with my resistance and practice what I preach, and that's self-compassion and loving whatever arises, even the depression and the anxiety and everything else that goes with it. And I'm very well versed in how to have more joy in life, because I have to appreciate every single ounce of it that I let myself have. And that is a permission. So every time I kind of find the energy to play Scrabble with my daughter, or paint for the sake of painting, or be a tourist in my own town, or take an impromptu pole dancing class, I'm always beating depression. You have to celebrate that, because I don't know about you, but I refuse to let it win. And I refuse to let myself sink into the mire of not giving a shit. You know, I'm always fronted with my overly achieving perfectionist. And I've lived with her my whole life. So telling you how to turn purpose into profit, or change your mindset so that you can get more shit done, and how to get more aligned with your joy, business, and blah, 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 blah. Absolutely. But you can't do any of that if you don't love yourself. And that's the part where, yes, I achieve and I teach and I write, and I also fight to give a damn about anything some of those days, because I know that you can heal from trauma, and you deserve to know that about me. Some of you may not, but that's my life, and that's not something that I'm willing to be ashamed of. And if you know anxiety and depression, just know that you're not alone, and there's no shame in it. And you know, I've been off any kind of medication for the last 15 years. If you have and are taking medication, there's no shame in that either. You know, you got to do whatever it takes to get you to live more deeply happy than not. You know, that matters to me. It matters to me that you know that there is a different way of being, whether that's nutrition, or upping your support, or getting more sleep, or finding help. Go do it. But you have to be willing to know what it is in order to ask for it. So, you know, it's that you, and as I said, the weather and the energy right now just seem to make this conversation really relevant, especially to some of the conversations that I've been having with my clients and with people that I really love and that I care about, that I don't want you to think that you have to sit in it forever, but sitting is sometimes a good option, so that you know that you can reach your targets, whether that's business or personal. You can actually have the pleasure of having it all. Maybe not all at the same time, but it's all available to you. And yes, there are bad days, if you want to call them bad days. Some days just are better than others. And if you have those days where you literally can't get out of bed, or you feel like a crazy mad zombie woman, or whatever is going on for you, come back to loving yourself enough to appreciate the contrasts, because that is the contrast of shadow work that I practice, because it works. You know, I don't care what tools you use, as long as you get the result that you want. But you don't have to be afraid of the highs and the lows. You don't have to be afraid of feeling depressed or feeling anxious. Invite it in. Allow yourself to feel it, because I think it reminds us of our own humanity. And even as strong and as powerful warrior woman that we are, there is a fragility to our humanness, to our vulnerability. And it's okay. It's totally okay. In fact, go away. Why is it saying my battery's low? It's amazing how much this chews up. Anyway, so, you know, let yourself go up and down, because there's always a gift, and it's how we grow into love and appreciation and kindness and allowance and all those other yummy things. And just love whatever arises. I hate it when people say, oh, just love yourself more. You know, I'm into action tools. I'm into finding ways to really get over this thing of never being enough, of not being lovable. And I think you have to love the parts of you that are depressed. And think of it like a creative art form, a gift. You know, that's why I show up and serve the way that I do. This is hysterical. I broke my tripod, and it's got putty press stick on it, and it keeps kind of doing a whoops, as if it's responding to the highs and the lows of the energy. So it's pretty funny. So let me know how you're feeling while I fiddle with my press stick together tripod. Tell me if this makes sense to you, if this is helpful, if you can relate to this. because that's why I do these Facebook Lives, even on the days when I'm feeling a little bit meh, because I know that it doesn't need to kill your dreams to have these kind of conscious conversations. You don't know how it changes and how much showing up can actually contribute to your own life. And I don't want you to kill your body or your relationships or your desire to want better and have more and live more deeply happy, whatever's going on in your life. So, just know that sometimes you maybe make things because they live deep within you, and you just simply must. You're not doing it for money. We did this in the 7-day belief challenge. It's like, give because you can. Don't, do something that's going to be fun for you. Not motivated because you think you only get permission to create and tap into your joy, because the expectation is that you're going to sell something. Sometimes you just need to create for the sake of creation, because something is in you that you have to share, right? It's bigger than you. And this goes with your work as well. It's like you don't just get ideas and sparks and things come through you for no random reason. There's always somebody out there that is going to receive that as the gift that it is, and it's your God-given right and your duty, if you want to use that word. It's a little funky, to get it out into the world. And sometimes I think we make things, we create things because we're trying to give what at what point you needed to give it to yourself, or you needed to get it for yourself. That's the photographer who hasn't got any pictures of her father, who has now passed, or the comedian, the Robin Williams, who makes jokes about misery and suffering and depression, because without bearing a torch for others, without shining a light on it, he has to creep back into alcoholism or drugs or despair or aloneness. And often, so often, don't we give what we need to get? If I hadn't been through my own journey with years of living with depression, if I hadn't lived my life with all the disasters and traumas and everything else that have come through with my health, with my relationships, with my businesses, I wouldn't be here having these conversations with you. And that really is the gift. And why, more than anything in the last 15 years of helping people, I want people to get out of their blues. I want you to tap into your gifts so that you can give more and make great money and change lives. And I realized that I'm giving what I needed to get my whole life, to know that I'm not alone, that there are actually people like me who actually give a shit. And I wanted somebody many times to hear me and say, I know, I get you, it's okay. I know you can't do it the way that everybody else says you should do it. I know how sensitive, I know how hard your heart pounds against your chest and begs to be felt and forgiven. And I wanted people to say, I know it hurts to be alive some days. Just breathing some days hurts, and I know. I just wanted somebody to hold me in that container, and I wanted someone to answer my questions about the next step without just going, oh, everything's going to be all right, and do the quick maths and say, just follow the most profitable thing in your business because it's easy. I wanted someone to tell me I wasn't broken, or that I should be losing weight fast enough, or I wanted someone to hold me accountable for doing what I said I was going to do. I wanted someone to really see me and look me in the eyes and just love me as I was in that moment, without mentioning my potential or my futures or my accomplishments or trying to fix me. And I just wanted someone to listen deeply and ask profound questions without being vested in the outcome or giving me the right answer. Can you relate to wanting that? Just wanting to be heard, when you're sort of screaming inside and you're terrified and you feel unheard. Some days we just want someone to come and sit beside us and hold us, you know, while we have the ugly cry or stroke your head. And I think that's, again, it's that human connection of being able to meet eye to eye and heart to heart, and just understand that we don't have to run away or hide or make ourselves small or try and fit in a box because someone says it's going to be more comfortable, while you cut off your soul and sell it to the devil. And when you get to reflect yourself back with a mirror, when you see yourself in the eyes of somebody else, the parts you love in somebody else are always a reflection of the parts often that you're not willing to love in yourself. And I love that I get to help women like you to come back and access your true nature, find your wild, surprisingly beautiful selves in ways that you hadn't even imagined possible, because you can't see your blind spots when you're in the dark. You can't see the shadows when they're sucking every bit of energy out of you. And that's why we need each other, you know, and that for me is how we live deeply happy into the world. That's how we get to make an impact. You know, happiness is the greatest gift that you can give anyone, is to own and love yourself enough. Because here's the thing about loving yourself, horrible fly, that if you don't love yourself, you're going to attract people who agree with you. You know, women are told they're not allowed to talk about their achievements. They're not allowed to be selfish. They're not allowed to be into themselves. They're not allowed to, because that's bragging and conceited, and you're a bitch if you do that. And we're socialized to believe that it's wrong to be full of yourself. And I always say, if you're not allowed to be full of you, who are you supposed to be full of? I don't care what kind of love you're looking for in your life. It all starts with loving yourself more, and looking at when you think you haven't done enough, and you go into people pleasing and minimizing and giving up your desires and your dreams because you don't think it's ever going to be enough. And that's really a pet peeve of mine, is when people in the self-help and life transformational industry say, oh, you just need to love yourself more. It's like, you can't when you're not in that place of love. You know, can you kind of relate to those? You know, I mean, I used to snort. I used to do the ugly snort. When someone said, oh, just write I love you on the mirror, and just write on the mirror with your lipstick, you're beautiful. And I used to go, what a load of bullshit. What a load of bullshit. But you know what? It's taken me a lifetime to finally get that, that was the lie that I had to hold in place, that it was bullshit, that kept me safe when I felt threatened by that very idea, that love wasn't safe. Certainly not loving yourself. So my invitation to you today, wherever you are, is to just get deeper and more curious about what lies you've bought to keep you safe and to keep love away that you don't need anymore, and just tap into the truth. Perhaps starting with putting one boundary in place where you keep putting off doing it for fear of rejection or shame or some kind of self-vilification. Just go do it. You know, self-love starts by choosing it. And boundaries aren't about being mean or saying no or being selfish. They're about making the space to live your deepest, most connected, and most fulfilling life. So don't self-abandon. Stand up for yourself. Ask yourself, what do I truly want? Tell the truth. Start there. Come back to, how do I love myself? You're inherently lovable just by being you. There's nothing to hide and nothing to prove, and there is work to do, but you have to want to do it. So let me know if this was helpful. if this has opened you up to one little step that you can take to get out of your own bullshit stories and steer your own ship and reset your compass direction without blaming and shaming anybody else. And if you'd like to hear more about how to create business that is your joy of living and transform trauma into triumph so that you can live into your true nature, book a clarity Skype session with me. If you don't know me, go over to my blog at Access Your True Nature and have a look around. And remember, you know, the world isn't waiting for someone like you. The world is waiting for you to love yourself enough to share what only you have to give to the world. You are worthy. So tread lightly on yourself. Speak kindly, like you would to a small child that you love and adore. And stop, please just stop diminishing and putting yourself down. And just receive love from wherever it comes. Say thank you. Say thank you to your body. Say thank you to someone that loves you. And just allow yourself to feel into that. That's love. You are so loved. And I love you for being in my world. I really, really do. So thank you for being you. Thank you for receiving my fierce and always loving, sometimes what some would judge as morose or depressing medicine. There's a gift in there, and I want you to tap into what your gifts are and what you want, and go there. Feel all of it. It's a very funky energy right now with the full moon, Aries, Libra, fighting for the same thing. From very opposing sides, and actually realizing that we all want the same thing, which is just to be loved, to feel better in knowing that we're loved, in knowing that we're lovable, in knowing that we're enough. And we have Pesach on us, we have Easter coming up, all around sacrificing. I don't want you to sacrifice and settle. You don't have to have passion for Christ. You don't have to let your passion kill you in order for people to take notice. You just have to choose it and go there. So, have a good rest of your day or night, wherever you are. I love you. Bye. Mwah.